So, you got my money?
Welcome back to 10K Bets. You can tell it's been a while. I still don't know how to use the fucking intro screens. It's weird. I feel like anytime after the intro, you never know who's going to pop up on the screen. So I don't think we've ever done an episode with just you and I, so I had to switch it up to the rock theme.
Rock on. I love it.
Yeah.
Good to have you back.
Yeah.
We've been talking forever.
I know.
Perfect timing. Got
exactly.
Stuff going on.
There's finally stuff to talk about. It's great. Mike, how you been?
Unreal. Some would say I have a sickness as I watched 10 to 12 hours of preseason football over the weekend. But, you know, I'm just happy it's back. It's meaningless football. It's worth nothing. But, like, just to have football on the TV, there's just something comforting about that to me. And I love it.
I'm a psychopath for two reasons. One, that microphone needs to stop hitting your sweatshirt before I lose it. Two, I watched the highlights of every single preseason game just because I miss football that much. And I think I should probably seek a therapist because the amount of field goals in that highlight reel is absurd because that's the only thing to show.
Exactly. No, they don't score touchdowns. And like that Saints kicker yesterday that scored the game winner. You saw the tweet where he got questioned coming into the locker room and he got questioned walking out of the stadium. Like, and he looks like a literal child. Like, I forget what the guy's name was. I think he was a Notre Dame kicker actually. And yeah, you know, drill a game winner and just like, no, but you do not look like you belong on a football field still. So no, good for him, man.
Josie is the kicker of the New Orleans Saints. If Josie had red hair, that is him.
Yeah, no, seriously.
You speaking of preseason football, did you throw any grease on it?
I did. I actually had the Ravens on. I had the Ravens on Saturday night. I had to. I put you know, what, $75 on it just to win. Yeah, whatever it was. Like
that's 20 straight preseason wins. That's insane.
24. They had a freaking case, man. Like that's crazy.
Did you see what the opening odds are?
It was like minus. I got it like minus 230 or something like that. It was ridiculous. Like
they opened.
I was laying a lot of juice, but I was
for the Commanders for this coming up week. They open at minus 180. I'm like, for a preseason game, that's insane.
Oh, I'm freaking hammered. That's awesome. that's great odds compared to what it was this week. So
free money.
Yeah, free money.
They can't lose.
Love that. I got screwed on Sunday though with underdog. I felt really good. They said Pat Mahomes was playing. I was like, there's no way he gets more in this series. And then I listened to NFL Network and they're like, he's going to play the whole first quarter. And I was like, sweet. His stat was set at he was set at 58 and a half passing yards. And I'm like, okay, if he gets 2 drives, there's no way he shouldn't go higher than that. So I took that and I took a CFL quarterback. I've been big on the CFL ones, honestly. So like when you talk about getting greased up on preseason football, I've been hammering these the pass yard stats for CFL quarterbacks. They're very obvious when they're going higher and very obvious when they go lower because there's only 3 downs in Canadian football. So it's like you can tell that there's a clear strategy, whether they're a pass happy team or a run heavy team, and there's like no in between. And the stats are set like across the board very similarly. So like it's in that 220 to 240 range, and like the quarterbacks that go lower like don't come anywhere close. So
I didn't even know they only had 3 downs. Do they still have the goalpost in the front of the end zone?
Oh yeah, I'm just waiting for someone to get like paralyzed. I've been watching like
side mission.
Yeah, like literally, like if you run a slant inside the 10, like that guy's gone. Like
the NFL got rid of that in what, like the fucking 70s? Like,
that was like pre-merger.
Yeah, what are they doing?
So I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I've been big into CFL, and you get to see like I'm obviously a college football nut, so I've seen like a ton of college players that you recognize. You know, shout out Johnny Manziel back in the day. You know, people forget he had his day in the CFL.
Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Or what? Wait, was it the Tiger Cats or was he on the Argonauts?
He played for like 2 different teams.
Oh, that's right.
I'm so excited to never talk about the CFL again because the NFL is officially back. Real quick, shout out to journalist Jake, who's a psychopath and just left our house to go on a run. And he's listening to 10K bets while on a run. That's insane. Don't do that. But second, there was 2 big signings today. So we finally have football to talk about, and I've never been happier. Let's start with Ezekiel Elliott to the Patriots. What does that do to Ramondre?
I mean, I don't think it does too much. Yeah, he'll sacrifice the goal line, but Ramondre Stevenson, correct me if I'm wrong, not that much of a receiving back. So like those carries on the goal, like, I mean, it takes away his touchdowns. Like from a fantasy perspective, yeah, he might be losing some touchdowns there, but that Zeke signing kind of just reminds me of when the Pats took Cam a few years ago, and I was like, this is going to do nothing for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that they needed a wide receiver more than anything from a vet signing for the Patriots. Like their wide receiving core is absolutely atrocious. And then they just have like every tight end in the league. So the running back signing is very peculiar. I'll say.
I think it shows that they kind of regret getting rid of Damian Harris because that he was the goal line back. They get rid of him, and Ramondre clearly like they don't trust him to do that. I think he is a better receiving back than people think, so he should be fine there. But also, I think Zeke sucks. I fucking hate Zeke. I'll never draft Zeke again.
Oh man,
yeah. But the other one that's insane is Dalvin Cook to the Jets, which we all probably saw coming. But Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook together is going to be sick.
Man,
unfortunately.
RIP to my dynasty team. I have Breece Hall. And
I wouldn't be that mad about it, honestly. First of all, I think Breece Hall starts on the pup. I don't think they make this move if he doesn't. Second, though, I do think it has the chance to be like a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt type of duo. Because Breece Hall, for his 7 games, he was electric. And they're not just going to give up on him like that. I think Dalvin will play the first 6 games exclusively, but then they'll work Breece it back in. So by the end of the year, when they're ready for a playoff push, like that duo is going to be insane. If I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm pissed.
Dude, I thought it was a no doubter that he was going to go to Miami because like it would give them a reason to clear out that like mediocre stable of running backs they have, where they have Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devin Achane now, the rookie. It's like if all these guys, they still have, and then they have Salvin Ahmad still too. So it's like you just have all these guys. Like if they would have signed Dalvin, it would have gave them a reason to cut 2 or 3 of those guys.
It doesn't make sense. I think the Dolphins have the most injury-prone running back group ever. Like I'm pretty sure they keep an EMT in the meeting room. It's so bad.
Oh man, yeah.
But not only do you miss out on Dalvin, but they go to your division rival, who, like, now your path to the playoffs is that much harder, right? Because I still think the Bills will win that division, but like the Jets were already going to be a problem, and now they are a massive problem.
Yeah, and I still look at that division like the Patriots are in the cellar. I think that's pretty clear. But then beyond that, like I'd like to think the Dolphins have a really, really good roster, but I don't know if I trust Tua.
Yeah.
So like I think that 2 and 3 that in that division, obviously you give the nod to the Jets right now, but if Tua could figure it out, I think that with Waddle and Reek, like I love that team. Yeah. That defense is really good too. It sucks about the Jalen Ramsey situation. I think that really takes a knock on him, but yeah, I for some reason I'm just not super in on the Jets right now, even with these moves. Like they're just like stacking players on paper, and this could end up like 8 and 9, like when they had Favre that one year where they started out really hot and then they just sputtered. But I think their defense is a lot better now than it was in 2008, so they have that going for them.
That does happen. Like the team that you think won the offseason is actually just still not good. But I mean, we'll see what happens. The AFC East is a gauntlet, but let's shift to more local. What do you think of the Vikings bringing in a bunch of veterans and just literally signing nobody?
The last 2 days they made 2 moves. I can't even name who the guys they signed. They cut someone off the bottom of the roster to bring another guy in and get a look. We're still waiting on Dalton Risner. Heard Kareem Hunt in here. Like one of those 2 guys needs to get signed. And if we have to trade Ezra Cleveland, I think I'm okay with that. Because I don't think they're going to Ingram is not going to get cut. Like they're just not going to give up on a second round pick that quick. So
they're not going to cut him, but I feel like they would bring competition in for him. But they also brought in Ronald Darby. Please God, anyone else but Ronald Darby. I'm all for like cornerback help, but have you seen that guy play? This is not okay.
Brutal.
Yeah. But I would be in on Risner. I don't really care about Hunt. It would be cool, but I think Ty Chandler is actually like he could be good.
That's my one takeaway from the preseason game on Thursday is like throw everything else away. Don't talk about who looked bad. Like Ty Chandler was a beast.
Yeah, he did that last preseason too.
Yeah, exactly. Like he forced you to leave him on the roster. Like there's no way he's not making the team, is what they said last year. Now this year he's going to fight his way to touches. So the thing I like about the Kareem Hunt, I'll play devil's advocate against what most fans are thinking right now. He's designed for the offense that KOC wants to run. You know, when they're going to air it out more, the Vikings teams that we're used to seeing the last decade play good defense, run the ball. Now it's like air it out and just don't get beat too often is what we want to do. And with the Flores system in there, they're going to be attacking a lot more. So I'm not too worried about the secondary as long as we have those safety valves with Hitman. And I don't know who's going to get Bynum's probably going to get the other safety spot. I'd like to see Scene come on, but yeah.
Scene got murdered in the preseason game.
I saw those like 2 clips in practices where he was like, you know, halfway decent.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's hawking the ball and like now it's like he can't even get lined up right or, you know, in the wrong part of the field.
It's fine. It's one preseason game. But back to the running back thing, like that is one thing that scares me is that in this offense, like you had the Dalvin Cook screen passes where he would just take it to the house. I really don't think Madison's capable of that. And that does scare me. So if you don't think that Ty Chandler can do that, then yeah, you bring in Kareem Hunt. But if you believe in Ty Chandler, like save some money, spend it elsewhere, and give the guy a chance. You can always make money halfway through the season or at the trade deadline. That's kind of my opinion on it.
Well, and there's just plenty of running backs sitting around because they're not getting the market value is just so low on them right now. Like, hell, if there's guys that leak into the season, they don't have jobs, like there will be guys there.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not a coincidence though that Zeke and Dalvin sign on the same day. I think a couple more of these people will sign within the next 2 days or something.
Yeah. Where's Lenny? Is Lenny gonna have a job here soon?
CFL. Lenny burned so many people last year. Let's shift gears real quick. What the fuck is going on with the Twins?
See, we've had this conversation plenty of times on this show. And we make the roller coaster analogy. That doesn't even do it for me anymore. Like they are a volatile rocket ship. They could launch into space. Some days you think they might land on the moon, and then other days they blow up like the Challenger. And there is no in between ever. And I'm so like I was done with this team after the Kansas City sweep. Then they pull you back in. You know, they sweep the D-backs, and then you lose 3 out of 4 to Detroit, and then you take 2 out of 3 from Philly. So it's like, no, I'm done. Like, I'll watch the games for another 2 weeks or 2-3 weeks or whatever. But like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this pain anymore. I'm just like over it.
It just doesn't make sense. They'll either lose 10-0 or win like 5-0. It literally makes zero sense. It is shaping up to be a team that limps into the playoffs, barely wins like maybe the worst division I've ever seen in baseball, and is going to play, well, it won't be the Yankees again, which is fantastic, but we're going to play like, I don't know, like fucking Baltimore or someone and just get swept.
Yeah. Well, and there's a hot take. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think it was Mackey or Judd, one of those guys said like, hey, I would say the Twins are better built up to compete this year than they were in 2019, and they had a way better record, way better team back then, just because they have the pitching. What like I don't know if I agree. Like playoff baseball, you need pitching, but
I guess
and from that standpoint, yes, but like from every other statistical probability from this team, I would say no. But
I guess, but like it's either we have great pitching, no hitting, or we have great hitting, no pitching. It's literally just like the Vikings. We either have a very good offense and not a defense, or a very good defense and fucking Sage Rosenfeld's at quarterback. Like we can't win, but that's why we're in Minnesota, and that's why we will forever be in hell. But real quick, Speaking of, or before we transition into the underdog session, I did want to let you guys know about Underdog and their pick'em game. Basically, all you have to do is pick their players higher and lower on what you think they're going to do for that day, and you put them together, and you can win up to like 20 times your money. Use code 10K on the Underdog app or on their website. They're all super easy to use, and if you use code 10K, you'll get matched up to $100 on your first deposit. And Mike and I are like incredibly addicted to Underdog. I don't want to say addicted, but we are avid users. There we go. That's the correct terminology. And I think right now I have 15 best balls completed.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's a problem, but it's not a problem because it's the best.
No, I got to get in and do some best balls. I was waiting for the season to get closer. I've been loving the pick'ems. I've been doing them on preseason football, CFL, like we've been saying. I'm done with baseball. So yeah, I'm just ready for the NFL, but I'll definitely be getting in some of these best balls before the year starts. Now that, I was kind of waiting for that that last foot to drop with that Dalvin move before I got into any best balls. But yeah, now I'll be ready to start getting into draft mode. Don't want to wait till after that second preseason game, I think is my threshold, just to, hopefully not get screwed by any injuries here. But
for me, it's so easy because you can just do the slow drafts. So it's like 8 hours per pick. So you could just like, I'm on the clock. I have 8 hours. So then you just have a shit ton of them going on at the same time. It's the best.
It is nice. I love drafting.
Yeah, we did want to bring you guys a season-long pick'em entry for this upcoming NFL season. Our theme today was NFC North running backs. Mike, why don't you start? Let's break it down.
Do you just want to start with a team? Because we're each going to do one for each team in the NFC North. Do you just want to go team by team, or do you want to rip them all off at once?
Let's go team by team, because then we can talk about it.
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to start with the Packers. Actually, this one's super interesting from a running back perspective. You have AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. Aaron Rodgers is gone. This team is built really well to run the ball. AJ Dillon's set at 6.5 rush TDs. So is Aaron Jones. So having them right even like that, I like AJ Dillon to go higher than 6.5 rush TDs. I think he's going to get the goal line. Aaron Jones, I see as more of a receiver kind of in this offense. So as they get closer to the goal line, I anticipate some Dillon scores. Just to go over the other numbers there, AJ Dillon over 700.5 rush yards, and Aaron Jones, higher, 875.5 rush yards. I think that Aaron Jones's rush yard number is way too high here as well. I would also say lower on that his rush number. I think that AJ Dillon probably comes into his own a little bit more this year. What's his nickname again? What do they call him? Quadzilla, or what is it?
Sure, like that, yeah.
Something like, I forget what it's called. But yeah, AJ Dillon's gotten a couple more touches every year. I think it continues to split that backfield right down the middle. So we're going. My favorite one though, there 6.5 higher for AJ Dillon on the rush TDs.
So I went with Aaron Jones. I did lower than 6.5 rushing touchdowns because of what you said. AJ Dillon's going to get the goal line because that dude is massive. Like, why wouldn't you give him the goal line work? And I know Aaron Rodgers isn't there, but if you look at like the last 2 years, Aaron Jones hasn't even come close to 6.5. And I think AJ Dillon has developed even more to where he's going to steal a lot of those touchdowns. Aaron Jones will still be good because I still think Jordan Love stinks. And Christian Watson might actually be okay, but I don't believe in any of their other receivers. So Aaron Jones will be a great receiving back and will be a good safety valve for Jordan Love, but he's going to lose a lot of those touchdowns to AJ Dillon because Aaron Jones literally just got them to the goal line. Now he's too tired to bring the ball into the end zone.
Right on. No, I love that. And on that note of Jordan Love sucking, if you watch the Packers on Friday night, Sean Clifford, I think there could be a game in like November if people are sick of the Jordan Love thing that Sean Clifford could be starting a game for the Green Bay Packers at some point this year. I'm going to speak that one into it. Yes, the Penn State prodigy. I think he at some point this year, there's a chance. I want to speak this into existence that Sean Clifford could be starting for the Green Bay Packers.
That's fantastic. Go ahead. What do you got next?
Next up, let's go with the Bears. So the Bears got two backs here. They have Deontay Foreman at 460 and a half rush yards, and then they have Khalil Herbert at 625 and a half. I like Khalil Herbert here. I'm going to go higher with his rush yards. Deontay Foreman, very serviceable everywhere he's been after leaving Houston, obviously. I just think that I don't think he's going to have enough workload to get there. Running backs are really hard on the yards to get because obviously they can get injuries, long season. But Khalil Herbert, I think 625, don't quote me on my math here, but I think isn't that like 45, 50 yards a game? Like,
yeah, it's not that much.
So it's not that much. So in theory, I mean, he should be able to get that. And with David Montgomery gone, I absolutely love that because Khalil Herbert could have been the number one last year. So I'm going with Herbert.
Yeah, I also have Khalil Herbert higher than 625 and a half rushing yards just because, one, it is Herbert who's number one. They wouldn't have gotten rid of David Montgomery if they didn't believe in Herbert, and they're not going to play someone that they just signed versus their person that they drafted and that they brought up. To where if they didn't believe in Herbert, Montgomery would more than likely still be on this team. And people are like super high on Foreman and they're super high on Roschon Johnson, rookie running back who's currently third string. Both of those things are going against him. It's Herbert's job to lose, and I don't see any way that he doesn't get 625. I think that is incredibly low. He could honestly be 1,000-yard rusher, especially with if Fields takes the step that everyone else thinks that he's going to take. That's going to open up their run game even more.
Oh yeah, pass to set up the run, baby. And like, yeah, there's so many things to be excited about if you're a Bears fan. But yeah, this run game, it'll be interesting because I think a lot of these numbers, why they're sitting so low, is because of how bad the offensive line was last year. But I think that that's improved at least marginally. Yeah. And with that, I mean, Khalil Herbert successful last year, even with the crappy O line. Even if it's a little bit better this year, I think with that added workload, he's going to get there.
And I mean, I just don't like. I don't get how it's so low. This is for sure my favorite like piece on this entry is Khalil Herbert over. But what do you got next?
Let's go to Detroit. So we have two options here for Detroit. We have Jahmyr Gibbs sitting at 600 and a half rush yards. And then we have David Montgomery sitting at 7 rushing TDs. And I'm going to go over to Jahmyr Gibbs and I'm going to say lower than 600 and a half rush yards. I think the way he's going to be utilized in this offense isn't going to be running in between the tackles. He's not going to get a crazy amount of touches. I think that he's going to be used as a slot receiver, essentially. I think he's going to get so many more touches in the pass game that 600 is a lot. We just talked about how 625 is not a lot for Khalil Herbert, 40, 50 yards a game. I think it's going to be a lot to get there for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yes. Jahmyr Gibbs is legitimately going to be a wide receiver running back hybrid. So that's why I steered clear of Jahmyr Gibbs because of that fact. I can't read like what exactly he's going to be. So I went with David Montgomery. I went higher than 7 rushing touchdowns. That seems like a lot, but I'm actually really confident in this one because David Montgomery is going to get the Jamal Williams role and DeAndre Swift's role will go to Gibbs. And Jamal Williams just had 11 rushing touchdowns. And I would like to believe that Montgomery is a more powerful runner than Jamal Williams. He's like bigger stature. Like I feel like Montgomery can easily do that to where it all comes down to the goal line touches again, which is the same reason why I went Jones lower. So I had to go with the same theory and take Montgomery higher than 7.
I like that.
And then for the Vikings.
For the Vikings, I only saw one out there, Alex Madison, and he's set at 7.5 rushing touchdowns, which this one I kind of waffled with back and forth. Is he going to get the total workload? You would think so. I got Ty Chandler sitting in the back of my mind right now, but I'm going to go higher. I think that, interestingly enough, Adam Thielen was the thing that had me that influenced my decision here to go higher because he was such a red zone animal last year. I think Hawkinson gets the attention that he was getting, that Thielen was getting last year. obviously JJ's. I don't know, inside the 10 with that limited space. I just think Madison. He's not a burner. We don't know if he can be a bell cow yet, but we know he can get the short yardage there on the goal line. So I like higher. I'm just so curious. Like, I don't know about the Vikings. Like, we like to think they're pass happy, but if you watch them, like, it's not always like that. So I just think how much red zone time they're going to get this year, he'll find his way to 8.
This is my least favorite one on this whole thing because I think that line is set perfectly to where I did the same thing. I'm like, I went higher, I went lower, but I did end up with higher, honestly, for like the same reasons that you said. Plus, like, the Vikings running backs always have like a high touchdown. Like Matt Asiata probably, like, forgive me if I'm wrong, he had probably 7.5 touchdowns the year that he was like the primary guy. To where if you're that goal line guy who Madison will take the goal line snaps because he's the biggest running back in the room, to where I'll take higher than 7.5.
It's greasy though. It's greasy compared to last year. You think about it. He even stole some goal line touchdowns from Cook last year, but I think that the injury factor played into most of his touchdowns for last
I also have
year.
PTSD from the Sunday night game a couple years ago in Seattle where he couldn't find the wide open fucking hole in the middle of the offensive line and he went to the right. Like, you can't do that if you're on the goal line. It's not going to work.
It's true.
So that does scare me, but
I think he's learned from it.
He's a more intelligent man now.
He's a better man for it.
Yeah. We'll wrap up this Monday episode with our favorite future bet of the week. I'm going to go first on this one. This is my favorite divisional bet of the NFL season. It contradicts what you recently said. I have the Titans plus 325 to win the AFC South. I firmly do believe that Trevor Lawrence is him. Trevor Lawrence is actually insane. Like, he's going to be a superstar, and I think that is a foregone conclusion. But it's just one of those things where the Titans have been the powerhouse of this conference for a while, and I feel like they're not ready to pass that torch yet. DeAndre Hopkins is a really good signing. It's getting a little overhyped, but I don't think he went there to think that, like, he obviously he believes in Tannehill. I still have a little bit of faith left in Tannehill to where with Hopkins and Henry, and then like their defense scares me a little bit, but for some reason I feel like the Titans are going to find a way. The Jaguars had success last year, but they're still extremely young, and they have a wide receiver that hasn't played in like 600 days. So
but he looks pretty good though in camp.
He does.
He's out there. He's faster than Christian Kirk. You've seen the videos, right?
Did you see him with Zay Jones? Zay Jones looks like a fucking peewee football player compared to Calvin Ridley.
I know. And
I still think it's one of those things where it kind of reminds me of like, oh, the Vikings are up and coming. Like, this is their year to win it. And then the Packers just win the division again. I think the Titans have it for one more year. And at plus 325, I will take that any day.
Yeah, I say I am not as bullish as you on the Titans. I think it's definitely extremely risky to put all your eggs on Ryan Tannehill. We just watched the Titans in their preseason game yesterday. Neither Malik Willis nor blanking on his name, Will Levis, are anywhere near NFL ready right now. So you need to hope that defense can go back to its old ways. I don't know if it will, but Derrick Henry can definitely, they could ride the coattails of the king. That's definitely an option. So
basically what I'm banking on is the Jaguars to not be as good as people think, and they win like 8 games, and then the Titans win 9. Like, for the Titans division, it's got to be a really bad division again, and I think it definitely is capable of that. The Jaguars seem like I love the Jaguars, but I think they're a little overhyped for what people are saying, especially at those odds.
It's true. I think the Jaguars to win the South is the freest of free money. At minus 155, I would take that all day. I said it on the show before. I love it, and that division is a dumpster fire. So yeah, I don't know what the Titans are going to be exactly, but that defense scares me. I just don't know if they're going to be able to stop anybody. It's not a typical Vrabel team the way that it's built up. You have Jeffrey Simmons in the middle inside. It's going to be hard to run on him, but I don't think that really deters the Jags because they're going to throw the ball all over the yard. So
Trust me, I'm not like if say this was like obviously even odds, like I wouldn't be super confident, but at plus 325, I'm gonna take the team that has won that division more often than not lately. For one more time. But if you want to talk about free money real quick, just like a bonus, the Bengals at plus 150 to win the AFC North is legitimately free.
Who's second? Who has the second highest odds in that division?
Baltimore at plus 215. The whole division is plus money.
Well,
The Bengals are free.
I love that.
Yeah, same.
I'm gonna have to take that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, my future bets of the day is I'm going down to college where you're like Illinois over 6.5 wins on the season. I think this one is also free money. Not a lot of talk, not a lot of chatter on Illinois this year. I think they have probably one of the best D lines in all of college football. They're going to be able to bang and hang with anybody in the Big Ten West. Love that. Wisconsin, I think, not quite there yet. Iowa, who knows, unproven. They have their own offensive problems. I think they steal one against one of those teams, and they should be in contention for the West. And Brett Bielema just has the team playing really good football. I love them. I think them to get to at least 7, that is just too easy.
I think you're sitting pretty if they win their non-conference. If they beat Toledo, Kansas, and FAU, if they get through those, which they should, but you never know. So that's 3 wins right there. And then I could for sure see them beating Purdue, Nebraska, Maryland, Northwestern. I could also, unfortunately, see them somehow beating us, to where I really like that bet as well. And there's a reason why that's only minus 118.
Exactly. No, it's I think that the interesting one to me is that game against Kansas. They go to Kansas early in the year, and that could be an interesting one. And then I think that there's another one where they could just steal one, like Penn State coming to Champaign. If you remember last year, Michigan, they got literally, what was it? Oh yeah, Michigan got pushed down the field with a penalty, and they gave them a chance to kick the game-winning field goal. But Illinois had that game won. They had them stopped, and then the refs gave a penalty to keep the game going and save Michigan's season. So
Wisconsin also has to go to Champaign. That's also a game that they could win.
I wish Champaign was just a little bit harder of a place to play. That's clearly a basketball school.
I don't wish that as a Gopher fan, but I do wish that as someone that's going to bet on that.
Yeah, as someone that's betting on them, I wish it's 2 hours from Chicago. That's where most of their alumni base is. And they will not come down for a Saturday football game, but they will drive down in the middle of winter for a Wednesday night basketball game. And it just,
the problem is for football is that they're just all in on Notre Dame. And
you got everybody in Chicago, Wrigleyville, you have representation from every Big Ten school. And then obviously Notre Dame as well. So it's
especially for football, Notre Dame runs that area. To where Northwestern doesn't. They play on Henry Sibley Middle School football field, basically. Two Rivers, sorry. But when it comes to basketball, Notre Dame, they had Mike Brey, but Illinois has been a way bigger success than Notre Dame has.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where that comes in, because fuck Notre Dame. If you're listening,
whoa!
I hate Notre Dame.
Easy.
You're a Notre Dame fan?
I love Notre Dame. I go there every year. I go out to a game every year. I have a buddy that has season tickets out there. I love going there. It's so much fun.
I would love to go to a game. That might change my mind because it seems like it's electric. So I might have to do that. But as of right now, I hate them. Join a conference. You're a fucking fairy tale team.
Hey, they look pretty smart right now in this conference realignment. They already got their rivalries. They're coming out on top right now in all this. But
real quick, the conference realignment thing sucks.
It does. But did you hear they might be moving the Big Ten championship game to Vegas? I know that for all the traditionalists, everybody hates that. But I think all of us on this show are always looking for an excuse to go to Vegas. So I'm in.
Let's go. I am actually really excited about the Big 12, though. The Big 12 is sick. And it's besides the Gophers, the Big 12 has always been my favorite conference, to where, you lost Texas and Oklahoma, but especially for basketball, because that's my thing. The Big 12 is going to be electric.
Because they're getting Arizona, right? So Arizona, Kansas every year.
They're getting Houston. Well, they're getting Houston this year.
Yeah, they already got it.
And then Cincinnati, if they can figure it out, they've been really good, to where the Big 12 didn't lose out on this deal. I promise you that.
Oh, that's good. But like, yeah, from a traditionalist standpoint, losing Texas and Oklahoma is losing the conference in football.
Yeah.
So that does, and I'm like, of all the things that we could be talking about in conference realignment, like Texas and Oklahoma was like that was like the first major thing of this next wave of conference realignment to go. And those might be the two biggest flops. Like those are not fits for the SEC. Like Texas A&M only is a thing because of Johnny Manziel. That would have never worked out ever. And it's still like they went 5-7 last year with like some of the best recruits in the country. Like it's not, how much better can it get for them? Like it can only go so much further the other way. But I mean, I just think that the SEC is a hard conference to fit into. So like I think they could be the losers when it comes to realignment. Like, yeah, they're big for football. They might get Clemson, Florida State, but even those guys like Clemson, I don't know if Clemson's a fit for the SEC. Florida State definitely isn't stable enough. Like they have the highest highs, but they're not stable enough overall, I think, to succeed in the SEC. But
I would say like the biggest like team or biggest like program that won in this whole thing that no one's talking about is Colorado. I feel like their move from the Big 12 to the Pac-12 was one of the biggest mistakes in the world. You went from playing on ESPN like every week, no matter what time slot you were playing because you were a Big 12 school, to playing on the Pac-12 network where nobody has. And now because of all this, you found your way back into the Big 12. And you should never, ever, ever, ever leave again.
Man, that was crazy. It was like, what, 15 years, I think, between the time that they moved and then the time that they came back. And they did lose out on so much money. But
not even, right? Like, didn't they moved to the Pac-12 when Andrew Wiggins was still in high school or still in college?
Okay, so it was like a decade. It was like a decade ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
Damn. No, it was crazy though. And it's like, I remember when Minnesota played at Colorado for football.
Yeah.
Like however many years ago. Like I remember like I had to get some like Fubo TV. Like I had to do like a start my trial on that. And I was like, what is this wonky ass shit? And how is the Pac-12 network only available on like 2 streaming services? Like what? And
Marlo's 100% correct. There is no chance in hell that Deion Sanders was going to be on the Pac-12 network for more than 2 years.
No chance.
The Pac-12 network is probably the worst television channel ever invented. You cannot find it anywhere.
He probably could have started his own network, just call it like Prime TV, and
he could have done what Texas does with ESPN, the Longhorn Network. He could have just been like the Prime Network, and they would have aired Colorado and Jackson State games, and they would have done fantastic.
Oh my goodness, yeah, no, Texas is public enemy number 1 when it comes to conference realignment. Like that's the whole reason Missouri and Texas A&M wanted to leave the Big 12 in the first place, and now Texas is like, oh, we don't get enough money. Let's go to the SEC. And now what? The Longhorn Network's probably just gone now, right? Like starting next year.
Really?
So
really
yeah,
I fucking love Texas. Unfortunately,
dude, it's make or break for them this year. I'll say it. I know they have Arch waiting in the wings, but like, you don't get to stay at Texas very long if you don't win. And Sark is a really good coach, but if he doesn't like have a major splash this year, them rolling into the SEC, they're going to need to have something. And I don't know, maybe he keeps his job. Maybe he keeps his job just because Arch is there and they don't want to mess that up. But like,
I think Arch would probably transfer. But
right,
I think I'm attracted to teams that like should be really good, but are just shit. Like Minnesota teams do that all the time. And that's why I like Texas. And not because of that. Like I liked him. I loved Vince Young. And I love their basketball team because I love Shaka Smart. Contrary to like what has gone on lately, I love Chris Beard. And Marcus Carr played at Texas. Like
you're just big into the trauma bonding, aren't you?
They just fucking shit the bed. So I am forever filled with trauma, and I will be seeking a therapist. And with that being said, thank you for joining us for another episode of 10K Bets Live. We will see you potentially on Thursday.